There was a 16-year-old girl, I'll call her Amanda, who was staring lifelessly at the locked door of the residential treatment center. Her admission into that treatment center kind of culminated from her anger erupting at home and at school, her life spiraling, and that torture from her inner voice constantly pounding her, "You are so worthless." I was the director at that treatment center, and sadly, her story was all too common. That sweet girl could have been any one of us from another life, or a daughter that we pray never faces that door. But here's the secret that those doors hide. Our darkest emotions, hurt and anger and shame, they are not cold prisons, they are furnaces creating fires. But these infernos are not meant to annihilate us. They are designed to refine us into something powerful and create something that is immeasurable. Today, I'm here and I'm going to expose my own destiny-changing fire story. And I'm coming out and I'm saying to you that my goal is to, for some of you, to give you a match, because I know that by you taking that match, it is absolutely going to light up your own fire story. So let's back up to 2011. I stumbled into an emotional affair, nothing physical, but conversations that were deep enough where trust went poof. And after that smoke cleared, it revealed something in my heart that was so ugly to see, I couldn't deny it. I was a pastor and a marriage counselor, and I know the irony is thick enough to choke on. I was working with couples in their own marital storms while completely oblivious to the lightning strike approaching me that was going to burn it all down. I was preaching hope on Sunday while shame was in my heart screaming, "You are a fraud." And fear was whispering, "You are going to lose everything." And my anxiety, well, that was like curled up in a fetal position in the corner of my soul, just binge eating chips and drinking boxed wine like it was a baby bottle. And it was Pinot Noir, by the way, that was the wine. Okay? Now, from that process, I had to face the fact that eventually, like it always happens, that emotional affair got exposed, and got exposed hard. Guilt and shame absolutely drove me into darkness. But then one day, in a quiet office with my counselor, I had a life-altering revelation and realized my negative emotions are not the enemy. They were like screaming smoke detectors going off at 3 a.m. and like fire alarms. They were meant to save my life. But my choices, although absolutely humiliating and totally hypocritical, were being driven by emotional fires that were meant to actually mature me and recreate me. So let me go a little bit deeper into this. Every single one of us, we're all in pursuit of beautiful emotional goals. We all want to feel things like love and comfort and significance and worth. And the problem is our negative emotions arise when we feel that the path we are taking to achieve those goals are blocked by someone or something. We then start believing lies. And then from those lies, we give ourselves permission to change the GPS settings to take the fastest and most pleasurable route possible, ignore all warning signs. Why do we do that? Fear. Plain and simple. We are scared. And fear is at the control center of it all. What we need to do is we need to go underneath that control center and examine the wiring underneath. And I'll give you a hint as to what that wiring is. That wiring is absolutely unexamined hurts, it's deflected insecurities, and it's projected blame. If we ignore that wiring long enough, then pop, there goes the circuit breaker of peace. Now, I want to stop here and say, okay, now we're at a fork in the road, and we need to make a decision. Why? Because our culture believes the exact opposite when it comes to negative emotions. It asks, did someone hurt you? Yeah, me too. Well, let's get together and doom scroll and then just pray. Pray that we come across an algorithm that agrees with us. And when it does that, could it be that our culture is absolutely wrong? I know it's counterintuitive, but when we have negative emotions, could it be that those negative emotions are not yelling at them, even though it feels like it, they're actually yelling at us? And they're taking smelling salts and they're flying it in front of our hearts, screaming, wake up. These internal flyers are not set by what others think of you. They were created by what you think of you. And in that process of trying to uncover that, what we need to do is we need to go deeper into figuring out what that is, right? But the whys don't wallow. They work their way towards figuring out what truth is. So the defining moment in my life was when I decided to stand straight and I chose to put down the microscope of examining other people's offenses and pick up the mirror and start examining my own offenses. And I would not allow myself to look away. And I kept asking that gut-wrenching question over and over again. Greg, what's being exposed in you? Now, be honest. And when I asked that question, what it started to reveal in my heart were some things that I didn't want to see. Actually, what that magic mirror on the wall exposed was that I was a man who was hurt, and I was full of fears. I was full of insecurities, and I was literally needing the world to validate me. And I realized that the world actually had the price tag of my self-worth attached to it. Now, to illustrate this, there was another girl at the RTC that she cried out one day. She goes, Dr. Greg, she's pushing my buttons. And in the most matter-of-fact way I knew how, I said to her, honey, well, just uninstall your buttons. The issue isn't that she's pushing your buttons. The issue is that you have buttons to push. Now, hang with me. I was not trying to insult her. I was trying to set her free. So if we examine it honestly, what are those buttons, ladies and gentlemen? Truly, what are they? They are insecurities that, when exposed, give complete emotional control to other people. And from there, when we allow ourselves to do that, then we realize that there's a lot of pain, but the whys don't wallow. And what happens is, in the process of uncovering these negative emotions, I started to realize that there was a lot of power that I had that didn't necessarily mean. So my entire goal was I want to replace our neurotic culture's philosophy of, if you make me feel bad, then that means you're bad, with this. I don't need other people to love me or validate me or pursue me. I want them to, I just don't need them to. Now, that does not change at all the definition, the standards, or expectations of relationship. What it changes is the degree of impact on us if those expectations aren't met. The issue is not the desires that we have in our heart. The issue is the degree of devastation it causes us when those desires aren't met. Now, negative emotions are a good thing. We use them when there's unfulfilled expectations and we have to fix something. We burn that energy to fix it and solve it. It's a good thing. What I'm talking about is the intensity of those emotions, the inflation of those emotions, and the exaggeration of those emotions. Now, I know this is hard, right? Trust me, I've lived it. But when I chose to put down that mirror and walk into my negative emotions, and then decided to relentlessly ask me the question of what is being exposed in me, it allowed the refining fire to take away the impurities of insecurity and fear and forge me into this Greg that's standing here today. So how do we do this process, this transformational process? I came up with a simple structure called I cubed. Information, interpretation, intensity. Now, first, information. Now, here's the rule. It is illegal for me to have any opinion, which is interpretation, or any emotion, intensity, until I have all of the information. Now, illegal is a strong word, but we need powerful words to interrupt powerful mental models, okay? And in that process, we then go into interpretation. So the question there is there any other way of looking at it? Okay, so what we do is our mental models produce automatic interpretations of any given information, right? Which is what it's supposed to do. But wisdom would say that at every given moment, we need to constantly assess and debate those interpretations because our mental models are flawed. It's just every single one of us. So what we do is, as a technique, is we mentally invite other people into our minds who would disagree with us and challenge us and have interpretations. If their interpretations are rational, healthy, wise, and right, then we absorb them. And we list all of the interpretations because it's that entire package that gives us a package of wisdom, of interpretation, of responding to the information. So let me take that process and apply it to my own life. The truth is, I lost my integrity. But the truth also is, I can make it right, be redeemed, and be restored. The truth also is, I need to figure out what happened in my heart. And the truth also is, this is not the end of my story. Now, absolutely, I would love to go back and rewrite the story of 2011. But the truth is, I am more powerful of a counselor, I am more effective of a coach, and I'm more spiritual of a shepherd than I have ever been. Then next, we have intensity. Now, with intensity, this is where we harness the heat. We have to look at intensity and energy not as power knobs to turn down, but as energy packs to unleash. So the question is, all right, what is this energy pack advising me in a wise way to respond to the situation? So what we do is we take, instead of guilt, we turn guilt into conviction. We turn shame into ownership. We turn fear into fierce power to make it right. We turn anger into justice for others. And we turn failure into a powerful force of the future where we give redemptive hope to everybody else who needs help being led out of their own prisons. I-Cubed is not about suppression. It is about absolutely releasing it and shepherding it into something that's world-changing. So I took I-Cubed and I applied it to Amanda. So we separated the information, which is the facts of her story, which are true, from the interpretation, which the truth is she can heal. And the truth is that her story does not define her worth. And we took the energy from her intensity and we used it to break her unhealthy cyclical patterns. A couple of years later, she wrote me a letter and she said, Dr. Greg, thank you because you showed me that my fire is not shame, it's power. And she's a mom now, and she's actually also helping younger girls who felt the exact same way she did. It's a beautiful process. Now, this is where, obviously, the plot gets twisted, and I have this kind of intense power and rage out of protection for these girls. Why? Because the girls at the treatment center, they are not cases. They're absolutely queens in training. And if this process can create queens and turn this dude who imploded his life into someone who is healed and fully alive and hugging healed hearts, they're going to absolutely forge and refine your heart and turn you into something that is absolutely unstoppable. So here's your homework. Next time anger erupts and shame sneaks in, or fear does that anxiety dance, I want you to stop and pause and ask yourself those three questions. First, do I have all the information? Secondly, is there any other interpretation? And third, what level of intensity is needed in this situation, and what's the wisest way of response to burn off that energy. Now, when you do this, you have the ability to start the transformational process. And it is an absolutely beautiful process. So in closing, I'm asking you to unlock the inner strength behind your negative emotions. I want you to walk into the house of your heart, for there are rooms in there behind locked doors of hurt and anger and shame. And those rooms contain fires of miracles that are meant especially for you. When you do this, your flames will start to rise. And when your flame rises, you start to light the way for everyone else who is still looking for their match. Thank you.